Hello, everyone. My name is McKenzie Kane with the National Sports Media Association, joined by the 2023 Maine Sports Broadcaster of the Year, Jon Shields. Mr. Shields, thank you so much for speaking with me today.
Thank you, Mackenzie. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, if you wouldn't mind just starting off with a brief introduction, can you share what you're currently doing in the world of sports broadcast?
Sure, I am the radio play-by-play announcer for the University of Maine men's hockey team, a two-time national championship program, 1993 and 1999, and we have pretty much a statewide radio network covering the team every game and coaches shows, and it's a program that has a ton of passion. Our fans are very rabid for Black Bear hockey, and we're coming off a year where the team went back to the national tournament for the first time since 2012. So it was a great season. So that's what I do for broadcasting. Full time, I work in sports athletic sponsorships at the University of Maine. So kind of get to do both worlds. It's a lot of fun.
Well, this is actually your second time receiving this award from the National Sports Media Association. Can you just tell me what that means to you?
It's pretty incredible. I didn't expect to win the first time, so winning two times, it was rather a surprise. There's a lot of talented sports broadcasters here in the state of Maine. We've got two TV markets that have a lot of talent with sports directors and sports reporters. We've got a lot of other really talented play-by-play announcers for UMaine Sports, for minor league sports in Portland. So it's pretty incredible to win it a second time. I feel pretty lucky to have the opportunity.
Now, can you just walk me through that moment when you first realized this was the field I wanted to go into, sports broadcasting, and then just how your career has progressed since then?
So I decided I wanted to get into broadcasting when I was in high school. I helped out a local radio station in my town where my father worked. It was supposed to be a one-time thing. Go in, they needed help during a basketball tournament coverage. I was supposed to go in just one time and record a game and record it on tape so it could air tape delay later in the evening. That's how old I am. And I fell in love with it instantly. The buttons, uh, just the atmosphere, just the opportunity to kind of be involved with something going out over the air that people were listening to. So that kind of began my crusade to do broadcasting as a full-time career. And from there, I went to college and studied it, and then worked full-time in radio for many years, part-time in television behind the scenes. So it's been a lot of fun, but it goes back to a one-time thing to help out that turned into a career.
I attended a conversation or a speech with Mike Tirico about 2 years ago, and he mentioned that the most difficult sport he's ever had to call was hockey because everyone's always, changing, and players are always changing. I'm curious how you learned the sport, honed the craft to be where you are today.
I feel like I'm still learning every day, still trying to figure out ways to do it better. Fortunately for me, I do the same team. So the UMaine team, the Black Bears, I pretty much have them down, but just by not only by their number, but kind of by their size and the way they skate and the way they hold their sticks. So really for me, week in and week out, it's kind of making sure I'm up to speed on our opponent, studying who we're going to play. Most weeks we play the same team twice. We do a Friday, Saturday series, so that helps too. If it's a split weekend, that's a little more challenging if we're playing two separate teams, but not that big of a deal. So just studying. I just studied names and numbers and for me, it's like just a flashcard app that I use to just, if I see number 5, I know who it is for Maine. And usually I have the Black Bears down before the season starts. It's the other teams that you just have to study. And from there, just kind of watching and listening to different broadcasters and try to find things that work well that you never thought of, and maybe try to use that into your own broadcasts.
Did you have a mentor at all that helped really teach you the skills needed to be a play-by-play reporter?
So my father has done play-by-play. He's also a past winner. Obviously, growing up listening to him, I have memories of going to games with him when I was a child and sitting next to him and watching him broadcast high school games and what have you. But other than him, the gentleman who did the Maine hockey job before me was named Dan Hannigan, and I filled in for him for a number of years and worked with him, and he was a great help, and got me to, to where I am, to have the opportunity to take over for him when he left 6 years ago to pursue other opportunities. So Dan, also a past winner in the state of Maine, multi-time winner, a great broadcaster, and a really good friend. He's been was a good mentor to me when he was here, and we still are friends here years later. So I would say Dan Hannigan, the past winner. Rich Kimball, who does our Maine football games, is also a multi-time winner. I've learned a lot from watching and listening to Rich over the years too.
What would you say is the most valuable piece of advice you learned from both your dad and Mr. Hannigan?
Be prepared. Be prepared. Something my dad always said, and he didn't do just sports. He did morning shows and news, and hosted debates, things that I've never done. But one thing I always noticed from him is preparation. If you're doing an hour-long talk show, make sure you have 2 hours or 3 hours worth of content if you need it. He's always said if you leave a game and you didn't get to things you had prepared, that's a good sign. Rather have stuff you don't use than run out of things to talk about. So I still strive to be half as prepared as he is. He's very, very prepared for his broadcasts, and hopefully someday I'll be as prepared as him. But yeah, preparation is key. Always have things that you might not get into the game. I've had things that I really wanted to work into broadcast, but the situation didn't come up. So you can't force them in, just maybe use it, save it for another day. But preparation is the number one thing.
I have a feeling you'll be echoing that answer with my next question, just because, hockey is a sport that can be high scoring or low scoring. So I was curious what your strategy is for those 0-0 games when you get into that third period and some people might want to tune out.
I think it's just as exciting. The game is still on the line, right? If it's 7-7 or 0-0, there's still those. Maine plays in Hockey East, so every game is super important for the standings. So it's critical if it's a scoreless game, or both teams have scored 5, 6, 7 goals each. It comes down to that third period. It's still important. I think the more difficult part is if it's a 6-0 game. How do you keep that interesting? Is it one goal at a time? What do you do in those games to keep it kind of interesting? Luckily, we haven't had too many of those, knock on wood, the last couple seasons. But yeah, just it's a challenge, and I just try to have fun. I try to think of it as if I was a fan listening, what would I'd want to just know what's going on, even if my team is down by 3 goals. And that's also the beauty of hockey. It can turn in a moment, a couple quick goals, and they're right back in it.
So did you grow up a Maine hockey fan?
Yeah. I grew up in the state of Maine, so I mentioned the 1993 national championship team, and as a kid, I remember watching the highlights of that team. They had Paul Correa was on that team, who went on to be obviously a Hockey Hall of Famer. Jim Montgomery was on that team. He coaches the Boston Bruins right now. Mike Dunham and Garth Snow ended up playing in the NHL. They had a lot of talent on that team. That 1993 team really kind of put Maine hockey on my radar as a young child growing up in Maine. So I've been a fan of the team since that point. And then going up in my career, when I worked part-time in television, the station I worked at broadcast the game. So I was behind the scenes from that standpoint. I was behind the scenes when Dan was our announcer producing games at the radio station. So it's kind of been interesting to see and watch Maine hockey from so many different seats over the years.
Well, as a team play-by-play announcer, what's the strategy for eliminating any bias or favoritism you might have for the team in your voice?
I don't. I mean, I always I think of it this way. I work for the Black Bear Sports Network. So people tuning in, for the most part, are Black Bear fans. So obviously, there's a line, but I'm going to get more excited when Maine scores. I try to make sure I stay excited to some degree when our opponent scores, because it is still a big part of the game. But I look at it that way. I work for the university, so my job is to promote the hockey team and tell the story of what the hockey team is doing that night, that week, that month. So yeah, I wear Black Bear glasses for sure.
I love that perspective. What would you say has been your favorite game so far this year, and then so far in your entire time calling for the Black Bears?
This year, so I think my favorite game, it's hard. They won a home playoff game to get to the TD Garden. So for Hockey East, the final four teams play for the league championship at the TD Garden in Boston, where the Bruins play. So Maine won a home game against New Hampshire, who's our biggest rival, and to clinch that opportunity after a really good year, being in the top 10 in the nation. Home playoff game, they win that game to go to the TD Garden. And having done a couple hundred games already, I didn't think it would be anything different, but it was nerve-wracking game to be at the TD Garden for the first time since 2012. It's just a lot of things happened that hadn't happened in a long time for the program, and going back to the national championship, the national tournament, not the national championship, the national tournament. They made it to a regional, which was exciting. Those are opportunities that I try to just take it in the moment. Like, it's been since 2012 since they played in the tournament. Let's enjoy this, and hopefully they'll be back for years to come. But you never know. That's why we play this. That's why they play the games. So I think the tournament run this year was obviously the highlight of my tenure so far.
What would you say are some of the short-term or long-term goals you have for the upcoming years?
Short-term goals, I think, are just like I mentioned, just to always try to get better. Just don't, I may be my biggest critic, probably. I think we probably all should be, just listening back to games. What can I do better? How can I say things in less words, or make them make more sense, or whatever the case may be. Long term, this is where I want to be. I like this job. I love this job. I like this area. I don't have any aspirations personally to chase minor league hockey or the NHL. Like, realistically, I don't think that's in the cards for me. But this is my NHL, is what I tell people all the time. Like, I love the program. I love the University of Maine. So just getting the opportunity to continue with the program and be the voice of Maine hockey for many years to come is a long-term goal of mine. Hopefully something I'll be able to do.
Well, Mr. Shields, before I let you go, I've got to ask, are there any pieces of advice you would give an aspiring young sports broadcaster or reporter like myself on how to just tap into the field?
I would say do as many games as you can. If there are games on your campus that are happening that they need somebody to do play-by-play for, and that's something you want to do, jump in and do it. I've done sports I never thought I would do just to get more airtime. Volleyball, which ended up being a sport I love calling. It's so much fun, but you might not think that would be an interest. Some people might not think that would be a fun sport to call, but it is. Softball, base, whatever the case may be. And you might not be familiar with soccer. I'm not a great soccer mind, but I've done a couple of soccer games, and it challenges you, and you're going to get better. So just do as many games as you can. And if you're on a college campus, there are games being played, right? So just go out there and see that opportunity. You don't have to do the big Saturday football game to get experience. You can do other sports too, and hone your craft that way. So that's what I always tell young broadcasters: just do as many games as you can, and keep doing them. Listen back, watch it back, and you'll get better just by you getting those reps.
Well, Mr. Shields, thank you so much for your time, and congratulations again on your second title of Maine Sportscaster of the Year.
Thank you, McKenzie. Great job. It was great to talk to you.